Hey, what's up, everybody? Nick Underhill here with Mike Triplett, and you're watching The Dot presented by Matt Bowers Auto Group. It's time for the weekly mailbag, and as always, if you are a member of NewOrleans.Football, you have access to our private Twitter community. Look below this post. There will be a threaded link. Get in there, talk to us, ask your questions, get featured in this video every week. First question, big news of the day. Do you think Andy Dalton is a better option at quarterback than Jameis Winston?
Well, we've spent 60 minutes total talking about this in our last two podcasts, but that makes my answer this. All these people on Twitter who are acting like this is obviously the right decision or obviously the wrong decision, I don't think it's either one. I don't think there was I think he could have made a solid case for Dalton. He could have made a solid case for Winston. I think it was close enough, and there's merit to both decisions. But the merit to the Dalton decision is very obvious. It's exactly what Dennis Allen said. They are top 5 in points scored, yards gained, third down conversion rate since Dalton took over 4 weeks ago. And even if that doesn't mean it will definitely continue indefinitely and Andy Dalton will always be better than Jameis Winston, he said, that's something that's going right for this team, and I didn't want to upset the apple cart. He did say, obviously, we got to correct the turnovers. No kidding. Obviously they do. But he said if they do, he thinks their offense can be pretty special.
Yeah, I think right now they're in a little bit of a rhythm. And why upset that? What stood out to me here is that Dennis Allen wanted to make it very clear that he was making a decision, that he was going with Andy Dalton based on performance. He said that Jameis Winston was healthy enough to play. He said that on Monday when he spoke. He reiterated it again today. I thought it was a strong moment for him in terms of kind of like asserting, hey, we're doing this. This guy's playing well. This is who we're going with. Nobody's guaranteed anything. Whether or not that's the right decision, Time will tell. I don't really have a strong feeling either way. I know for a fact Jameis Winston is not 100%. We know what his injury is. It's not going to be a situation where he's at full strength, but obviously they felt like he was strong enough to play. He's full in practice and everything. But I think there is a lot riding on this for Dennis Allen. I think he needs to get this decision right based on recent performance. It makes sense why he's doing this, but ultimately time's going to tell if he made the right decision.
Well, I don't know that he had to come out and be frank with the media. Coaches can decide whether or not they want to be frank with the media all the time, but he had to be frank with his team and say, we are making you actually asked, is this a performance-based decision? He said, I'm going to call it an offensive decision. I want to keep the offense the way it is. But there was no more hiding behind Jameis's health anymore, and that's why I wrote about it last Thursday night. That's why we talked about it on the pod, is this was the time to be like, all right, Jameis is healthy enough to play, to be full in practice, to be active in a game. So now this decision is going to be based on who I'm choosing as my starting quarterback, not on the injury report.
Yeah, I think kind of the fact that this is the topic of the season right now kind of just tells you where the team's at right now. I think that there's going to be even bigger decisions after this season. And as we've said all along, our concerns with the team are much more with how does the secondary play? Can the pass rush get going the way it should be? Can they get guys healthy? All of that stuff has to be right for either one of these quarterbacks to have any type of success. There's we're like I said, we're gonna see. I think this is an important moment in DA's coaching tenure, at least for right now. It's important for him to keep the team together, for things to go right enough for him to not have the season spiral a little bit. So we'll see. I don't have a strong take on either one of these guys.
I'll tell you what's interesting though. Kevin on our podcast made a really good point where he said, if you switch to Jameis now and he struggles, then you get into this weird switch back to Andy. This reserves the right to switch back to Jameis at some point. You're riding Andy Dalton while he has the hot hand. Jameis Winston is still waiting there. If this season does spiral out of control, or if they get too far back in the standings to make a legitimate playoff run, I think there comes a point where you have to put Jameis back in there to decide if he's part of the 2023 plan. I think you need to take one more look at him before you decide if you're moving on from him permanently. But hopefully that's a topic for later down the road.
You don't think that replacement with Andy Dalton kind of tells you what they think about him now and in the future? I think it's kind of telling. I think it kind of tells me that they're already looking at this like, we need a different quarterback for next year. That's what this move tells me. This wasn't injury-based. This is them saying, okay, we saw last year, we saw this year, this is what we're doing. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but it feels to me that they've made that decision to move on from Jameis.
They're 1 foot into that decision, but I don't think they've decided to cut Jameis Winston with a year left on his contract yet. That's the decision they might have to make by the end of the season.
I think he's still an asset in the locker room either way. So if you can maintain that, I think he's a decent guy to have around. He's a good teammate. He has good energy. If he can embrace that and be part of the fabric of the culture, I don't see why you have to cut him. He has a huge
Right.
dead money hit. But yeah, I think we know for sure whether they get stuck in the same situation next year or not is a whole different topic. But I think we know right now that they're looking at this offseason. Okay, we got to get another quarterback. I don't think it's Andy Dalton or Jameis at this point.
The next guy might be pretty young, and he might take time to develop, though.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's fair.
it's hard to think that they will definitely be able to locate a new Week 1 starting quarterback by next year. So they need to figure out where Jameis fits into all of this at some point.
Yeah, that's fair. If they lose this week, next question, do they become sellers?
The weirdest thing is the NFC South standings. They're not going to be mathematically out of it until mid-December probably. So they need to be realistic about what they can be. I mean, the injury report is still not all the way back. We still didn't see Marshawn Lattimore, Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry. So it's possible that this is a team that can be playing its best football in December and get to 7 wins. They need to decide if 7 wins can get them into the playoffs at some point, or 8 wins, or you know what I mean, whatever that number is. So I don't think they will become sellers, quote unquote, until well after the trade. I don't think they can make that decision.
Yeah, it's not. It's really not in their DNA either.
Yeah,
I've never seen this team just say we're done. We can't go for it. I think they probably still look at this roster, and whether they're right or wrong, I bet they look at it and say, all right, there's these pieces, and next year if we get a quarterback, this is what we could be. I think that's just kind of their DNA, that they kind of feel like they're the Steelers and that they can just kind of keep things going and going and going. You know, if you look at the math, you look at the cap, you look at their realistic situation, I think there is merit to maybe selling off a couple pieces, acquiring a couple picks, seeing if you can take a step back to take 2 steps forward, moving into the offseason. But I just don't think that's really how they operate.
I'm not sure who on this team gets them picks that's not really important to this team, though. Like, yeah. I mean, of course,
Davenport, you're killing your pass rush.
Yeah, you're not trading Davenport. You're not trading Demario Davis. You're not trading Cam Jordan. You're not trading Alvin. I don't see it unless they have a position of depth. You know, if somebody wants Traquan Smith or Marquez Callaway, or they don't even have depth at that position right now. So I don't know. I don't know where the trade would come from.
If you don't plan on signing Davenport, there's some merit to that. The downside to that is the guy they drafted to possibly replace him or Cam Jordan can't get on the field right now, so that kind of takes that out of the equation. But if Peyton Turner was playing well and you wanted to keep competing, but you're also being realistic about where you're at, that could put you in a position to maybe offload him and see what you could get. I think he would actually bring back probably like a second-round pick at least. I know Saints fans have their view of him, but he's viewed as a really good player around the league. But I don't know if they would actually do something like that. That's all we got for you guys this week. Keep it locked to NewOrleans.Football.